The Giants are doing their Giants thing as they are providing us, Chris, with a little bit of fool's gold. I guess maybe you can believe it if you want, but they beat the lowly Rockies. They sweep the Rockies right in time for the trade deadline and to continue to confuse everybody as to whether they should be buyers or sellers at the deadline. And when you have a rotation that consists of Robbie Ray, Blake Snell, Logan Webb, Kyle Harrison, Hayden Birdsong when he gets back up, I mean, just guys that can really throw the baseball, you're always going to feel like you have a chance. I mean, we're not calling it the even year magic, but that's what the even year teams always had. They always had pitching. And it's a confusing time for the front office because you have to make decisions. We talked about if you're going to be sellers, then what's Farhan? What is Farhan's purpose?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He has not done enough. If this was Farhan, who he won a couple World Series, and yeah, we're going through a rough stretch, but Farhan, he's essentially on his last leg, and you have to prove that the Giants should continue with you. So if you sell, well, what are we selling for you to do? So I know we talked about it last week. Well, if I'm Farhan, I'm not selling. Why would I sell?
It's pretty much signing your death certificate.
Exactly. But John Morrissey thinks that there is a chance that they do some version of selling with one Blake Snell. Obviously, Blake Snell is on a 1-and-1 deal, and I saw some Giants fans say, well, why don't they just extend Snell? Well, the problem is we know who Snell's agent is, and we know that the reason this took so long for Blake Snell to get signed because he wanted a ridiculous amount of money.
Right.
So I don't think that would have changed. Blake Snell values himself very, very highly, which he should, but the Giants probably still wouldn't want to pay whatever Blake Snell would want. This is John Morrissey on what the Giants may or may not do with Blake Snell.
After tomorrow.
Lauren, I actually believe that as I talked about Skubal being right around 50%, I think it's now for Blake Snell above 50% that he's somewhere else. I think he is more likely to move right now than Tarek Skubal is because you look at the circumstances of the San Francisco Giants. Yes, I know it's a complicated contract because he's technically owed $30 million for next year, although he can, and some believe that he will, opt out. But the Giants are certainly trending towards sell mode. You look at that right-hand side of your screen, Lauren, a 104 opponent batting average in the last 4 starts. 15 strikeouts among the 18 outs that he recorded on Saturday. That's a pretty high percentage. So Blake Snell right now is looking like the Blake Snell of old, and I think all the teams that are significantly in the market, whether it's the Orioles, whether it's the Yankees, this is a big market deal for someone who last year was the Cy Young Award winner in the National League. So again, I look at Blake Snell as being, I think, a better than 50% chance he is somewhere else by 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow.
If it's the right thing to do from a baseball standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, then maybe Farhan says, hey, this is not what we wanted to happen, but at least we can get back these prospects or whatever it is. To me, it more so is an indictment on the time that Farhan has spent with the Giants so far, which is why I don't know how you could say, okay, now we're going to give you 3 more years with these new prospects. That's why I just don't understand. I understand why the Giants would want to sell because of where they're at. But as far as Farhan is concerned, you're out of here.
Yeah. And I mean, like, could they there's no way because obviously the deadline's tomorrow, but like it almost would have been better if you, let Farhan go before the deadline even happened. As you were kind of middling, maybe you should have made the internal decision to say, look, like the deadline's coming up and we know that he's going to be in the pickle that you just laid out, that he's going to say, well, why would I sell if the people that I'm trading, even if I make the best trade I could possibly make, get the most value in return for Snell, I'm not going to be here to see the fruition of that. So why, what entices Farhan besides just the pride of doing your job? And maybe if he believes that there's a chance he can make it past this year, there's nothing incentivizing him to lean in that direction, even if the organization and everything about the way the Giants are playing kind of feels like you should lean in that way. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a pickle that they found themselves in. And I would guess that they're probably not going to sell for that exact reason. I just don't see how you could convince Farhan that that's the right idea. Again, I'm sure everyone in the building probably knows, yeah, even if we do, like, you lay out the rotation, it sounds great, but even that's not a guarantee that you're going to have success. I feel like it makes all the sense in the world to sell, but I don't see how you convince Farhan that that's the right move for him, unless it comes with some sort of, and there's no way the fan base would be for it, but unless there's some guarantee behind closed doors that Farhan is going to get another year, a final year. But that was kind of supposed to be this offseason, which is why they spent so much money, and they went to go get Snell and get Chapman on those deals that they're on. I don't know, man. To me, it's a really, really interesting conundrum that I guess we just won't really know what is actually going to, because I don't know where you lean. Again, I think it's so obvious in front of you, but I don't know how, again, you're going to convince the man to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the Giants are not the first. They're not the first team to be in this situation. I think if you're Farhan, maybe the argument would be, hey, you do what's best for the team because this is for your next job.
Sure.
At this point.
Maybe.
He decided to, he decided to buy because, he wanted to try to make this push, even though everybody knew it wasn't the right thing to do.
But is he too far gone?
Is he too far gone? Here's the question, though. If there was an argument to buy, and I saw some people in the Bay Area, some media members saying that the Giants should actually buy, and we can go back and forth. This is where the Giants are at right now, Chris. They're 3.5 games out of the wild card. Okay. They are behind the Diamondbacks, the Cardinals, and the Pirates. And then under them, teams that are selling. The Marlins, they sold. Jazz Chisholm. Frankie is walking on a cloud right now with Jazz Chisholm. Chicago Cubs, they appear to be more so selling, right? So these and the Giants, they have one of the easiest schedules left if you want to make the argument to buy. This is what the Giants have coming up next, Chris. Tomorrow, they start a 2-game mini series against the Oakland Athletics, okay? And the A's, we've said, yes, they're more exciting, but they are, yes, the first winning month. July was the first winning month I believe they had in 2 seasons.
Yeah, sounds
right. So you have the A's for 2 games. The Reds, who the Giants are above the Reds in the standings. Reds trying to get to 500. The Nationals stink. The Tigers aren't very good. No. Then you have to deal with the Braves. Then you get the A's again. Then you get the White Sox. They stink. So you're going to have some opportunities here, right? You got to play the Brewers and some teams. Then you get the Marlins who stink. So the argument is if you can get rolling, you have one of the easiest schedules left in Major League Baseball. And that could be Farhan's saving grace to say, hey, I am doing what's best for the team. Look at our record. Look at our rotation. Why would we sell right now? So there are going to be some interesting conversations to be had, and they're going to have to happen very soon, Chris, because the trade deadline is over tomorrow.
But couldn't you also argue, though? I mean, and it's a great point. Like, that is definitely a great reason to buy, but wouldn't you, like, isn't that kind of fool's gold? Like, aren't you actually measured by beating good teams? So yeah, if you put together a team that's good enough to beat on the scrubs, like,
but we know
it'll boost your record, but you're still going to get washed in the playoffs.
Yeah,
potentially.
But I think that if you just get to there's something here in Sacramento, we know for sure. Getting to the playoffs is a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when you haven't been in a while. And the last time was 107. I mean, and that looks more like a fluke.
Giants fans will convince themselves
even year,
right?
Even year, anything can happen. Yeah. Anything can happen as we go around the different Northern California sports. Next, we have friend of the show, Mark Schlereth, essentially illustrating what we talked about yesterday, Chris. But he does it, last week, but he does it in a much
more pointed.
Yes, a much more blunt way. And that's who Mark Schlereth is. We have that audio for you coming up next. And then, like we said, bottom of the hour, we get back into the NBA trade market. Stiles Watkins, Sactown Sports.
The NFL's leading rusher plays